We're live. We're live.
Oh,
We've
good.
done it. Thank goodness. Okay, we're over there, Jane. I think.
We're over here now.
Yeah, over there.
To there.
All right. So, can you hear me, guys? I think we're live. Give us a thumbs up if we are live. Can you see us? Tell us on the comments. We're not sure if we're live.
Well, I'm breathing. If you're not, no hearts.
No, that's. I don't know if we're live.
You just said we were.
I'll ask Dominica. Oh, you hear me? Yeah, people are live.
Oh,
we are live. We have got a stream. Sorry about that, folks. We had a few problems. All Jane's fault.
Of course, being a woman.
So we had a few little problems there, folks. Just that we suddenly were using a new form of software, and it suddenly didn't work. It greyed out the button, but we're there. Goody. So now we've done all that, we can talk about tonight's show, and. You're welcome to put any questions you like. I'm flustered, sorry. You're welcome to put any questions you like. Domenico will sort them out and he'll give us some questions down here. We've got another little screen. There I go again. Down here. And I thought, first of all, it'd be quite interesting to talk a little bit about what it's like being kind of isolated. Because you're all isolated and people handle it in different ways. So... how do you handle it, Jane? Cooking is one thing.
I handle it by just enjoying life, like cooking. Not that I'm saying I'm a 1950s housewife. Gardening, reading. It's just living life every day. Not worrying too much what's going on out there by being safe and being positive energy. Because I think the more we're positive, more everyone's coming together. It's going to create a really beautiful world. The world's not going to end. I really don't believe it is. I
think one of the ways to handle it is to live in the present. Absolutely. A bit more. You know, this is what they call mindfulness, being aware of what you're doing, you know, being conscious of everything you're doing and slowing down a bit. You know, most people try to deal with boredom by trying to fill their brains with more stuff, or alcohol even. You know, you think about it, we're all constantly experience addicts, aren't we? You know, we're always chasing experience, you know, and it's all sensation coming in. And if you take something like the news, okay, it's bombarding you with lots of pretty negative imagery all the time. You know, okay, we are concerned about what's going on, but actually, couldn't we just catch up in half an hour or an hour's TV watching news? I mean, we don't need to know all the brutal details all the time. We know we've got to stay indoors. We know we've got to deal with this. But meanwhile, we're all safe. We're all at home. We're in a safe place. And we just can change our lifestyles.
Well, we're having more family time, aren't we? I mean, children have got both parents at home, so they can interact. Your children are safe, we're safe. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, it's going to bring us all closer together. And I think when you wake up in the morning, you're alive.
And people are asking, I can see questions coming up about when will restrictions be lifted in Europe and when will restrictions be lifted in America. Wrong thinking. Assume they're going to be indefinite, so that we can then kind of get into the idea that we have to be here and now. Because if we're thinking all the time, oh, when will it end, when will it end, when will it end? It's like when you're climbing a hill and you're thinking, oh, when will I get to the top? When will I get to the top? It never comes. It just gets steeper and steeper. You just live in the present moment. And that's one of the ways to handle it, I think. We need to not over-worry about how long it's going to be. Although, if you saw my Nardi ones, my Nardi videos, they suggest it's not that long, that we find a cure. But I think it's better to deal with the situation here and now.
Well, I think really at the end of the day, we've all got to be positive. But there's a few people still walking around out there, going to parks, and just, as if it's, oh, hey, it's a holiday, so we'll just go walking. Stupid idea. You should stay in, it means stay in.
And actually change the way you think. Slow down, be in the present moment. Stop panicking about that, okay, there's lots of things to worry about with people's jobs and all that and all those things. There's lots of worry on people's shoulders. But even so, that will have to wait, because there's nothing much you can do most of the time, and most of the issues we have, there's not much you can do, and it's much better to, like I say, live in the present moment. All the actions you're doing, fully conscious of what you're doing, here and now.
And perhaps all these things that's happening around the world, where we've got lack of oxygen masks, ventilators, perhaps it's going to be a real sort of, we've got to sort of stock up more in the future, just in case another virus comes. So it's a wake-up call. And
one of the questions just come in is, can it get any worse than now? Says Owen AKIF. So, well, of course it can get worse, because, we've got India, we've got Africa, we've got lots of countries without quite the same technology and hospitals as we have here in Europe, so it can get worse. But as I said, I hold a lot of stock with the Nadis, as you know, and those Nadi oracles, they kind of are pretty much 100% accurate. That's as long as you can find the real ones. Now, I've gone to 2 or 3, and the general things that they've been saying seems to be, we're kind of over the worst in terms of getting through this, because it's suggesting that there could be some form of cure on the horizon. In fact, one Nadi reader said within 2 weeks, which I think is pretty optimistic. But my feeling is that we'll start to come back to a bit more of a normal sort of existence round about
July.
Well, June, I think.
I pick up July because people are still going to fear going out there, even if it suddenly dies down.
Well, it said the 17th of June, I think, in the Nadis, if I've got my dates right. I might be wrong with that one. I did say it on my other video. But it won't just be all back to normal, because we were talking it'd be nice to have a street party, weren't we, and things like that. But
do one.
It won't be, because we're going to still have to social distance, and we're going to have to think very differently about this year. It's going to be, and the Nadi suggested there's another outbreak in September, but not so bad. So we should be getting over it by the end of the year, but it's going to be a long haul. So that's why I think we've got to change the way we do things. So let's have a look at some of the questions then, Jane. So we're going to change subject now, so you can put your questions in. And if you've joined this stream late, and you've come in, still put your comments, because we do pick up the questions, and any questions you put on here, I'll always use on other videos as well. So I'm always keen for your questions. So put your questions, and if you've got any opinions about what we say, about what you think might happen, do add them in the comments below. So, should we try for this one? I can prove to you that I'm psychic. Right now I'm thinking this guy can't spell. So somebody's quite interested about how can we prove that we're psychic. I suppose we can prove that we're psychic through the evidence and proof we give. And those of you that have joined us today that are patrons will be able to join the live stream on Monday, where I'll be doing another meditation, and I might do a little bit of clairvoyance on that day. We're not doing these on these streams. This is questions and answers, but that one for those who want to join my online circle. How is the spiritual world handling this?
Well, the spiritual world can't change anything, can they? Because everything can be changed through consciousness on the planet, can't it? Through people's positive consciousness. It's probably something that we're going through realisation, that we're realising how important life is. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and I don't think the spirit world can...
How can they?
Alter it. They're in a different dimension to us. How can we alter the things in the spirit world? I suppose thought, prayers, positive thoughts, meditations, all those things change the world, and all those things change what happens around us. And I was also interested in one of the earlier comments that Domenico's not put here yet, which was, somebody said, if these Nadi oracles were written thousands of years ago, is destiny fixed, and can we not therefore not change it? You know, and a lot of people who follow these sort of ideas of destiny think that there is no free will. But I understand that there is free will, that we can change it. And the thing that the Nadis give us always is this idea that we can do remedies. We can do things to change the course of life. We can clear the bad negative karma. If we couldn't, we'd kind of be absolutely stuck, wouldn't we? We might as well not be living. We might have just let it all happen and not even bother to look both ways when we cross the road. You know, we have free will. So that's one of the principles of spiritualism, actually, that there is personal responsibility and therefore free will. Do you agree with that, Jane?
Yeah, absolutely, free will. I'm just looking at all things coming in, especially this one here.
So which one do you want to ring?
That one.
What do you think of David Icke's perception of things regarding coronavirus?
A bit delusional, I think.
Wow. I mean, I did a reading for David Icke, and he's a very nice man. I've got nothing against him, and I think a lot of his stuff is really interesting. But there's a certain, how can you say, almost over-intensity
manic.
With it all.
It's sort of manic.
Slightly on the manic with the way he deals with things. And although, you know, I think there's lots of interesting things he has to say, I think these things like, I mean, I haven't watched all his videos, but they've been saying about that he's associating this whole coronavirus thing with 5G.
Rubbish.
I mean, nonsense.
Rubbish.
I mean, that's just nonsense. It's just conspiracy theories being made up. And also that, you know, there's all sorts of hidden agendas again that will all be taken. I haven't read it all. I haven't heard it, so I can't really comment fully on that. Sorry, but you know that we might get things through vaccines, and that and I don't hold with the idea that we've been infiltrated by another planet. Yeah, it's fear,
negative energy,
and it strikes me as close to paranoia. And you know, obviously, I don't want to say anything that he might. I get myself in trouble saying, but you know, I have to look at the man, and I look at his eyes, and I think, you know, this man is full of fear, and is that fear because of the things he's found out, or is he got the fear and then making everything fit to his fear? You know, it's a kind of paranoia, I think. So
enough of him. Let's get some more interesting questions.
What are we to learn from this pandemic? Well, again, I would go to what the Nadi says, and the Nadi said that this is a spiritual awakening. It said it's like a crashing eclipse, and it may feel to you like a crashing eclipse, it described it as, and it seems absolutely terrible. But this has been sent by all the spiritual beings, even named Jesus. It said the spiritual beings, the Jesus, the rishis, God, the gurus of gurus, the avatars. It said this has been sent to mankind so that we can relearn Dharma and truth, you know? And Dharma being like the path, the spiritual way, you know? And surely, aren't you doing this? You know, aren't you having to rethink a bit, you know? We take everything for granted with our planet. We take everything for granted that we can have toilet rolls and loaves of bread and bottles of milk, you know.
It's bringing all selfishness out.
And it's all been taken away.
Yeah. What about nature? It's made nature come back as well.
Yeah, well, you were noticing that the skies were blue, weren't you? You know,
and the birds singing.
So you know, so there's lots of things we can learn. We can learn about the planet. We can learn about what do we really want from life, you know. And even this has got a threat of death over us all too, hasn't it? Because any of us could catch this and be killed by it. Any of our family could catch it and be killed by it. All those things are issues which are making us collectively, the whole world, think at the same time. You know, we don't even have an enemy. You know, normally in war you have an enemy, so you can channel anger into it in this. But this is static. It's from home. And we're forced to rethink things. And that's why I think It's going to be tremendous spiritual. I mean, what happened when we had all the clapping outside? You know, didn't people come together?
Everybody came together and blowing trumpets, ringing bells, and we put Land of Hope and Glory, and everybody was happy because they're all connecting as one.
Yeah, and the kids loved it round my daughter's house. We're getting all the tins out ready to bang, and everybody was so keen to speak to everybody else.
Yeah,
you know, because most people are keeping to the restrictions and not going out on bikes and 100-mile walks with a dog, and you know, and making excuses. People that have never exercised in their life suddenly going for health walks, you know. But most have kept inside. So we're kind of like, wow, isn't it great to be all together again? You know, and imagine what's going to happen when we start coming out of this. You know, we're going to rethink about a lot of things. We're going to rethink about online life. We'll all be getting fed up with all this cyber world that we live in, you know, and television and the rest of it. We want to see the real world, you know, so I think it will make a lot of difference to people. I'm glad to see the patrons. Hi Vicky Howell, thank you for being a patron. That's nice of you. Just joined, I see you say there. Yeah, I know a lot of you are patrons here, and we'll be doing some special ones like on Monday, for example. There's a good one. Do you believe in pixies and fairies, and do they exist?
Well, he's a pixie, yeah, and I'm a fairy.
Yeah.
They do exist.
I mean,
Here
we had a great medium we used to see called Betty Dear.
Oh, you shouldn't say her name.
Or Betty. Okay, she's a lady, right? And oh, she used to love her pixies and lighthouses, and
she had a whole wall of pixies. And she had what she called a spiritual lighthouse.
She was a medium,
yeah.
And she used to go on the platform, and with this huge lighthouse that would attract the spirit world,
6
she said.
foot.
And she believed in lighthouses, and she believed in pixies and fairies, and this thing would almost like it was going to kind of burst into flames. It had those old-fashioned flecks, didn't it? And she'd have a little foot thing at the bottom, and when the light came on, she said spirit was near.
She probably had a dream that was a beacon of light to go around the world from the beacon of the lighthouse. And she took it that she should build a lighthouse 6 foot.
She saw a vision.
And she wheeled it in.
Yeah.
And you laughed at her, and she said, "Young man, you seem to find me rather amusing."
Well, she used to speak, and her teeth used to drop down, so it looked like her mouth was moving, but her teeth didn't. It looked like her teeth were upside down. She was a lovely, lovely lady, actually, so I mustn't be rude.
Come back and haunt you.
Yeah,
now,
she
Graham.
will do. Yeah, I'm sure she will. What other ones we got?
About the unconscious.
The unconscious mind is said to create reality. Do you think we are seeing our collective unconscious fear?
Go on, you answer that.
A good question. Well, I don't think the unconscious necessarily creates reality, actually. It depends how you think of it. Scientists say that we're never actually conscious, because the brain is always sort of slightly behind our perception. So we don't have our own thoughts, basically. And they look at say that the unconscious mind is generating all sorts of things in our mind.
I don't think they really know where consciousness comes from.
That's the thing, you see. I think the brain is nothing more than a receiver of consciousness, and consciousness is actually outside of the body. We project into this brain, what's left of it, our consciousness. So it's just a receiver. So the unconscious mind is kind of has all the collective energy and karma of us as individuals, and perhaps racial karma, and perhaps human karma, and different and a nation's karma. Maybe the unconscious mind has hidden things in it that then burst onto the scene. But I don't think it's coming from the unconscious mind. I think this is coming from the higher spirit. I think this is coming from higher consciousness. This coronavirus is, in a horrible way, a blessing. We've got to see that it's a silver lining to the darkness that's around us. Because, you know, the only reason we're here on Earth is to awaken as human beings, to awaken. You know, we do all the things with families, and we do all the things in our careers, and we collect things, and then one day we got to let it all go, every single bit of it. And what is left? What is left is our consciousness. perhaps our personality and memories as well, and our sense of self, but we do know for certain that consciousness goes on. And if our consciousness is put in the centre stage in life, then life makes much more sense.
And the most important thing is love, I would have thought, goes with consciousness.
Well, yeah, that's true as well, isn't it? Because, I mean, they're one and the same thing, really. But what is consciousness? Consciousness is, yes, it's awareness, and that's an abstract way, but it's also, yeah, like you say, love. It's also truth. It's also knowledge. It's also awakening. It's also infinite as well as being finite. See, consciousness can be like the jug, the volume inside the jug, as it were, that space there, and also the infinite space. And you take when the jug breaks and we become one with the whole thing, we see that all the space was ultimately the same. You know, so so that's some interesting thoughts there.
We could pick up all the atoms, couldn't we, that's floating around consciousness.
Yeah.
We have food shortages.
Will we have food shortages?
Well, you will if people keep stripping the shelves off and being selfish, because some people are buying far too much, and I saw in the papers today, then they're throwing it away, and it's so unfair to do that when there's elderly people that can't get these things.
Yeah, well, we've seen lots of people that have
and
been doing that.
Stealing off doorsteps.
Yeah, old ladies' packages being stolen off the doorstep, and terrible. I mean, you see the absolute most terrible things in human nature. Some absolute scumbags out there doing things, and you know, baby milk they had for sale for £299, and I'd imagine if we'd had a young baby and you were dependent on trying to get baby milk, you'd pay that.
That's terrible.
You know, because you're desperate. So, will there be food shortages? Are obviously a thing that causes an awful lot of strife in the world. The Nadi said there would be social unrest, and I do think that's coming. They've already today said that Italy's on the brink of social unrest because people have been there locked down for a long time. You can't get social unrest in China because you'll get clobbered. But in the Western countries, food shortages, I think they're likely to happen. But we've been all right. Actually, we've ordered from the farm shop, so I think a lot of it's just supply.
And a lot of women are cooking from scratch. A lot of people growing vegetables. And I think there's a flour shortage, isn't there? Where women have been doing baking.
Yeah, everybody's baking. Well, actually, food-wise, we've been eating better than ever because we've been buying from the farm shops, and Jane's been learning loads of new recipes and testing them on me. So I'm no problem with that. That's quite okay. So Guy here, Guy Y, is saying, Craig and Jane, please explain the concept of time in the spirit world. It's very confusing. So
time's nothing in the spirit world.
You explain what you think it's like, Jane.
Well, time is nothing in the spirit world because time doesn't change. Where time here on the earth plane changes because we're growing. It's like it's natural to die. It's natural to be born. And it's like nature. So here on the earth, your physical body is wearing, tearing, so it goes. But your spirit in the higher realms is still there, isn't it?
Yeah. So I would sort of put this as a way I think of time. It's very hard because we live in time. We live in a linear time in which time goes like an arrow. I think the world of consciousness and the world of the spirit world, time is different because it's a bit closer to what I said earlier. It's like the quantum world. Now, quantum world, it gets bandied around a lot at the moment by people, but if the mind and us, our body, like we were talking that one about the unconscious, if we are just a receiver of consciousness, you know, our consciousness is elsewhere. Where is that elsewhere? Well, it could be that elsewhere could be like the quantum world. Now, in the quantum world, all sorts of strange things can happen. Things such as, you know, there's like the Copenhagen type stuff where things can be in two places at the same time, or things can not be there unless they're looked at you know. So a thing doesn't exist until it's observed, and when it's observed, it will also create a shadow particle. So all these, and there, time goes forward and backwards, sideways, up and down. They still don't understand it, of course, because it's so beyond our normal thinking. Even mathematics struggles with it. So maybe the spirit world is a form of time that is really completely inconceivable to us, because we are living in time at the moment where one thing follows another, one thought follows another. Even internally we're in time because our thoughts follow one another. But perhaps the common factor is the now, you know? And like I said earlier on, learning to live in the present is a very powerful thing. There was a book called The Power of Now. But if we live in the present moment, we are much, much closer to being able to slip through time, as it were. We are in that present moment. This present moment is eternal, isn't it? I mean, the dinosaurs understood the present moment when they were wandering millions of years ago, eating the grass and killing each other. They were living in the present, and it's still the present, and it's still the same. So the present moment is a very powerful thing which can take you into the idea beyond time. So the key to understand time is to understand the present moment.
Right, you old dinosaur. On to the next question.
Okay, and if you've got any comments, please leave them below here, because it's very useful. If you've joined later to put one, we will pick up any questions later on if you come back and re-look at this video.
Claire, I'm in the entertainment industry. Will Hollywood be in shambles after all this?
Go on then, you know all about Hollywood.
Well, I think it's going to change things. A lot of the stars that we know, they are donating money to help hospitals around the world with this virus and everything. I think they're going to rethink about things. I don't think they'll be so shallow as they were before.
I think people have kind of turned against the celebrities. I don't know if you lot think it, but...
go towards the nurses, the doctors. They're the real Hollywood stars.
Well, yeah, the real heroes nowadays are the shopkeepers. The nurses, like you say, all those people that are keeping us safe. And it's like the celebrities are kind of scrambling to do online music or to look good, you know. I hate this Red Nose Day. I think it's, you know, and all the other ones where all the celebrities that have lost it now get on screen and make a big fuss and get another bit in the limelight. And they say it's all donated to charity, but they get millions of pounds worth of screen time.
I think it should be donated to nurses and doctors. And I think student nurses, pupil nurses, they should wipe off their, not pay for their examination or their loans. They should take that all, that they're more worthy. Do you think?
And I think what's going to happen, here's a prediction for you, because I remember saying it to someone, because she was a nurse, and someone called me for a reading. She had the coronavirus. She was a nurse. And I said to her, I see all you nurses actually getting medals.
They deserve
actual medals. You know, a real proper medal to show that they've served.
I've got a medal.
Know? Yeah, you have actually.
I have.
As a nurse, yeah. But you know, something that's like the George Cross or something like that. You know, something that is really significant, because those people have been in the war for us, really, haven't they? And
absolutely
fantastic.
A germ war.
And when we look at the celebrities, we look at them and think, oh, what a shallow load of idiots. You know, here's people of real character. And our heroes should be people of real character, not these shallow let's pretend people. Our heroes should be people of real quality, both in politics and in entertainment and all the rest of it. I mean, I hate all celebrities except Stanley Unwin, of course. Go and look him up. He's great. He's my hero.
That's because he's nutty.
He's nutty as a fruitcake. Yeah. He explains everything perfectly. If you want anything explained, look up Stanley Unwin. He's from some years ago. Go and look it up on YouTube. And if you love Stanley Unwin, put a comment in the comments.
Yes, right. Patrice, will there be a different economical system after this crisis? Are there different timelines we can influence? I think we're going to find money's going to be quite rare to handle. Money I'm talking about, because people will be very germ conscious, won't they? For
some time.
Yeah, so they'll be using special cards and things.
And they've been itching to get rid of paper currency, as it were.
Yeah, and people will be worried about going into recession and a deep deep recession, like a depression, because that's to come as well, isn't it? America more.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be, well, again, it was something that seemed to be hinted at in these nadis, but something I've felt for a long time. I think there's first of all going to be some major disruptions. You know, if you look at my earlier predictions about Europe and things, I'm seeing the European Union fall into bits over this. They can't sustain a big hit like this. But I also think that banks are going to. I was talking to. I mean, I'll get some very interesting people. I can't name them, but one of the people that comes to me for readings is very, very high up in the banking industry, and I said to them, could you not conceive of a system where banks don't charge interest, they just charge a management fee, and that all the money is supported by the governments, so the governments can put the money in to support the businesses, and the business growth is not based just on profit and gain, but is what is good for society. So we have businesses that help the country, individual countries. So each country might need a steel industry. Each country might, particularly in this moment, need a medical industry. So we can be self-sustaining in small groups, you know. So if one bit breaks, the rest keeps working, you see. And that's what we need in the world, this decentralisation. Well, they were very into the idea and was much more detailed than that. But I think there will be, and I think the banks are, and industry, is thinking we've got to do things in a different way, because big is not best in this case.
So Stanley Orwin spoke gobbledygoo.
Yeah, I know, like I do. That's why he's my spirit guide.
This one speaks gobbledygoo, but he speaks perfect English when he wants to be fed.
Yeah, we got them on here, Jen.
Right.
Follow the ones that have been filtered. Have a look. You like my mug, by the way? This is one I made myself. Yes. Got to do something. Right. To go for the Julie's one here. Are imaginary friends in children a psychic experience?
No, children, their perceptions are pure and they're innocent. Sometimes they do see spirit. I can remember my son when he was younger. He was only about 3. He said he saw his great-grandfather in spirit. He said he came in like a cloud, a dark cloud, and he told him it's his birthday. And I mean, he was quite young, about 3, and it was perfectly true.
Yeah, and do you remember that child? This is kind of off on a different angle, but we were down in Dirdle Doorway down at.
Oh yes, so he was interesting.
And this boy, we were looking at the fossil shops in, what's the name of the?
Yes, I know. Lulworth Cove.
Lulworth Cove. And we were looking at the fossils, and this little boy started talking to me. I thought, oops, his mum was there, though, so that was all right. And he says, "You know, mister, I used to be King so-and-so. And I used to live round here," and started telling me all this story. And his mum comes up and says, "Is he telling you all about the kings and things like that?" I said, "Yeah, he's telling me everything about this life he had." And it was talking like an adult. You know, he's talking in terms that were not a child's fantasy, because he would have been, how old do you think he'd have been, Jane? 6?
About 6, 7.
6. He was only young, 5 or 6, I think. And he had these, what I took as past life memories.
Yeah.
And where did he get that from? You know, I mean, it wasn't a game or a video game fantasy. This seemed to had a ring about it, didn't it?
And why would a child, when there's a crowd of people in that particular place, walk up to you? Yeah,
and actually, the experience of children can be a really good one. And also, when they've had done experiments when they've looked at near-death experiences, the accounts of children of near-death experiences are particularly interesting. If they've had a near-death experience and they've come back and they've described people that they've met on the spirit world that they could never possibly have known about, but the parents know about, or have come back and talked about very adult sort of themes, what they've seen in the spirit world.
Yeah, but then a skeptic would say they've heard those parents talk about that. I know when I was a nurse, there was this boy had to have an operation. He had to, I think he had a tracheotomy and everything. And he'd actually come up with his body, and at the top of the building, right on top of the hospital, it's an old children's hospital, he described a shoe, which was like, in those days, what do they call, like a running shoe, shall we say. And there's no way that child could have seen that, or anybody. And I remember the porter, they were doing some cleaning or something up there, the guttering, and they actually found that shoe.
That's a famous case. That happened here in Southampton. I know that because you were in one of the hospitals, so perhaps that's the hospital. Because I know that they do a lot of near-death research here. Dr. Fenwick, I think, is near us in Southampton University. And actually, Southampton University is actually, they reckon, is close to finding a cure for the virus. It'd be fantastic if it happened on our doorstep, wouldn't it? Right. So people are talking here about the Great Awakening, and if we heard about the Great Awakening that's supposed to happen in the next few days.
Have you heard something we have?
I haven't heard of it in the next few days. I think
Rebecca, she heard something.
So I think yes, there is an awakening, but it's not like some epiphany moment.
That's right.
It's not like a man in the sky sort of awakening. I mean, I don't hold with any of this Christian stuff about, everybody, all the good, we're saved and you're not, sort of thing. But I do think mankind and humankind is awakening, and it'll come in little ways, and it'll come one person at a time. I've said this before. It won't come all at once. It won't be a sudden great revelation. We'll find that, we'll go another 30 years, and that mankind has awoken a lot. And, we're moving out of the dark age of Kali Yuga, and that can take a long time. That can take centuries. But the thing is, we are coming into a much safer period, I think. We've had, as the ages change, there's great turmoil. We had the First and Second World Wars, we had the Spanish flu, now we got this.
SARS.
But all these things ultimately bring people together. The problem is we just don't learn. That's the problem. But gradually people will awaken.
My mother always says it's a cleansing of the earth and all the bad people, but not everyone's bad that's died. It can't possibly be. But I think you're right. It is an awakening as such, because how people are going to deal with things.
Yeah, I think humanity will. Like I said, we're starting to get a different attitude to who our heroes are.
Yeah.
I think all of you watching this would probably agree that those people that are out there on the front line at the moment, keeping all the old people safe. We've had friends that have been in hospital and have gone through hell with coronavirus, and they've survived. But if it wasn't for the care of those people on the front line, where would we be? Those people are taking their risk, and like I say. Even the shopkeepers, are taking their lives in their hands, and so we've got a different attitude to what our
People
heroes
be kinder
are. It's a good
to
start.
each other and looking out for each other, and I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and we in these sort of times we see the best and we see the worst,
Absolutely.
don't we? That you see disgusting things of people's selfishness and people that are all, everybody stays indoors and a small percentage decide they're all going to go out for the day. Because it's nice and clear, and I'm not going to bump into anybody on an all-day sunbathing walk. Not right. So, and there's a lot of resentment, I think, from a lot of people with that type of thing. It said in the news about Italy felt like that before the full breakdown. Oops, Siri's come on. I must have said something there that. Okay, so. Someone's saying they're scared for their newborn baby because the virus ending in the summer.
What's that one?
Will it end in the summer? Like I said, we do think it will end summertime-ish. But again, it's not a complete final end to it. It's a gradually, bit by bit.
There'll be another virus coming. Are people aware of that one?
We mentioned that before. Second virus, there'll be a second outbreak in September, said the Nardis. And Sharavana, who we very into as another holy man, said in trance, in his bhava, as they call it, he channels the gods, as it were, that there would be 2 more viruses. I haven't seen that in the Nardis, though, not yet. But and I'm not quite sure about that. Do you think there'll be more?
I don't feel it'd be as strong as this one. It'd be weaker, but we're always going to have flus and things winter times anyway, because a lot of viruses don't react to what do you call it? I can't think of the word. Antibiotics and things.
Yeah.
And so all they're really doing in hospital, the very best, is make sure people don't dehydrate. And I was a great believer in paracetamol, because I think paracetamol is a great thing that if you've got something and you take it 4 hour leave. You've
Yeah,
got
and also I've
things.
got some of that holy basil tea. You know, the one I mentioned in the other video that came up in the Indian stuff
He's
again.
growing basil.
Basil on
his ears.
But it's quite nice actually, and it's not bad. So where we got to? Will there be different economic systems after this crisis? Are there different timelines we can influence? Well, we do have different economic systems already. Like in China, we've got capitalism run by communism. We've got communism. We've got and we've got capitalism, I suppose. But I think there will be a different way of doing things. We kind of covered this a bit, didn't we? I think this idea of interest somehow, and I think governments will be more involved in supporting businesses, which is likely to happen. But I also think there's going to be a lot of public unrest, and this is going to be a main problem ahead. Like I've said this before, in America, I'm seeing it in Europe a lot. I think a bit in the UK too, but particularly in some parts of Europe, France maybe, in Italy, and in America too. So I think that's going to be our next worry, and that's why we need this coming together of people. I think that we start to take a different approach instead of grabbing for ourselves, like robbing a store with a gun because it's got food in it, and looking after yourself first. We need to come together as humanity.
I think there'll be at least 2 million people will have this virus, and then we'll suddenly see it drop.
When will the USA get back to work?
Not yet.
No, like I say, I think you've got to take your time with it. Live in the present moment. What about Brexit? If the EU collapses, I think they're going to still push Brexit and push it through. I think Britain will be better off out of Europe now. I know that's still big contention. Wouldn't it be nice to go back to talking about Brexit all the time rather than about viruses? But I think Europe's going to. I think Europe's going to have troubles. I said this all along. I said that when we do leave Europe, I felt that there'll be chaos left in Europe, and that Europe would break up and disintegrate, and that would be split into two at first, with mainly Germany running the kind of the eastern economies, France breaking from it, and Italy breaking from it, and Spain. And frankly, they might all have to, because I don't think there's enough money there to support all these ailing countries. But we'll have to wait and see. Which government do you see becoming more powerful with all this going on?
Well,
China. Because China
started it.
China's still in business, so they're still manufacturing, they're still making money. Their money, I think, is going to try to buy, like we talked about celebrities, buy the entertainment industry, buy influential things like TV stations, buy American industries and British industries. And I think there's going to be a strong resistance from all countries of trading with China. When these things settle down, people are going to start saying, who's to blame? Now, I'm not saying China's to blame, but they're going to say things like that. And I think there's going to be we've had a trade war, and Donald Trump kind of wants a trade war, and I think there's going to be big time trade war. But it might readjust things in a new way about the way the world works. And like I say, I feel countries are going to be much more self-sufficient. And I think that's a good thing, personally, because I don't think it's a bad thing having countries, as long as we don't all get over nationalistic and start going to war with each other.
I think Boris Johnson will come through all of it. I was asking you.
Boris Johnson's going to be all right.
I think he will, and I think he's a great man, don't you? And he's got real leadership, and he's quite a powerful man. And especially perhaps he's calmer that he was meant to go through this virus, so you can help and reach out others.
I think whatever your politics are, I'm not saying his politics are necessarily right, but at the same time, Johnson is going to come out of this as a bit of a hero, I think.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to come out a bit more compassionate, because if you think David Cameron, he had a disabled child, didn't he?
Yeah,
so he had we could see his sympathy with people. He was kind of a wooden character in his way of behaving most of the time. but there was this human side, and I think Boris Johnson will, perhaps more so than he's thought in the past, he will fight for the underdog a bit more, and a bit less of, me first. I hope, and I think that will happen. How will the American election go? Who will face Trump?
I don't think we want to get into that, do you?
You don't want to do that one now?
No.
All right. How would Theresa May have dealt with the virus? Oh, God. Dare we ask? Dither. Will the governor of New York eventually run for president of the USA? I think he's got that in his mind, hasn't he? I mean, I don't follow American politics really much. I mean, we don't get so much of it here in the UK. But what I've seen of him, he seems to be on a sort of he's owning the problem, and he's kind of seeing it as a way of kind of pushing himself forward a bit. It wouldn't surprise me at all that he would want to run. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me he would try to run.
I think there will be an antidote as well to this virus as well. Definitely.
Yeah, there will.
And then people like Bill Gates and people like that will throw a lot of money into that. And I think I don't know if it was in the 70s or that, I think he did mention there would be something like this. Yeah.
Anyway, I think we better finish now because we're coming to we try to keep these to an hour. So don't forget, put your comments below. And if you do enjoy these live videos, we are doing some live videos just for our patrons. So if you want to become a patron, you'll see in the description below, you'll see things about that. And don't forget, if you can share these videos on Facebook and things, it's quite good because it helps us to get the messages we say out there. It's really lovely that so many of you are following Jane and I. You do it by choice, not because it's just on TV, and so that's very flattering that you do that and that you respect what we do. And I thank you for so many lovely comments that you make.
Yes, and thank you very much for joining us, and keep joining us, and we'd love to hear from you in these troubled times. And stay strong, keep healthy, and every day's precious, and love everything around you.
And finally, don't forget to subscribe. Also leave a comment, I mentioned that before, and hit that like button too, because that all helps keep the videos up in YouTube, and so we can sort of take our work a little bit forward. And we're going to be, once this lot's out the way, we're going to do some fantastic things. First of all, we're going to go out with the drone and live in the real world a bit more. But we're also going to set up a proper studio where we can have guests, and we can have some of you lot come with us, and we'll do some readings with you, and circles and seances and that sort of thing. So we've got a lot to look forward to. And I think, try all of you to see beyond what's happening now. Look at the bigger picture. This will eventually all be over. All things pass.
Yes.
All things pass.
Now time for a cup of tea, I think.
Now a cup of tea is a bloody good idea. Okay. Thanks for joining us today, folks. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye for now.